Good afternoon. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Omar Khasso Akram. I'm a PhD researcher in urban planning and design at University Putra, Malaysia. Today we present a research about classification of international policies of tangible heritage for historic sites. Today we'll present introduction, historical background, research methodology, results and findings for identification of international policies, and ending with the final conclusions. On this research, the study was focusing on the concept of development control, scenarios on conservation management policy, which is giving a global vision, policy for tangible heritage, categories the policy based on the method that deal with the deterioration of historic values. The benefit of the conservation for this study: first, to increase the property value or the land value. Number two, reduce construction and demolition waste. Number three, identify the historic value of the place. So the main research question of this research is, what are the international policies for tangible heritage of historic sites to be classified? Where it has three main objectives for this research to satisfy the research. First, to identify the global vision scenario on conservation management policy. Number two, to analyze the international policies based on their method and criteria. Number three, to characterize policy types based on the method that deal with the deterioration historic sites. And the study giving attention mainly to the historic sites who doesn't have any unified policy on their region. For this slide is showing here the scenarios for the conservation management policy as well as the general management for the heritage sites. Here the study divided the states based on their continents. For example, we have Africa region, we have Arab region, we have Asia and Pacific regions, we have Latin America and Caribbean region, and finally with the European region. Going deep for the Africa region for the management policies, where most of the state parties have developed the policies for the protections, where just two of them have placed the financial levels on their country. Going deep for the conservation management scenario itself, unfortunately, still they have a problem with the management tourism for the heritage sites. While for the Arab region, they are applying the policies, but unfortunately, based on the report, periodic report for the World Heritage Centers, state that all the policies are too old and need to be reviewed and updated, as well as the general management for their country, institutional structure that are not properly equipped for toward to the natural and cultural heritage. While the another one, which is very important, the Asia and Pacific regions, it's a good example for the policies, for legislations, for the law for protecting the heritage sites, but still having a problem. They don't solve yet the contemporary issue. And as general, the management for those countries, the absence of conservation management plan and systems, where this led to the deferment of the World Heritage nominations. So another country showing here the Latin America and Caribbean region, where there are most of the state parties are adopting specific policies, laws, legislation. But unfortunately, most of them, they have majority to be updated and reviewed based on the World Heritage Centers on their periodic table state that all those policies are not properly corresponding to the present day. So the management shows as overall the measures of the management are still insufficient. Going deep for the European region, here we can find all the states parties are applying and having policies, laws, regulations for the protections, and have also good awareness for the heritage sites. And also they are creating nowadays for the responsibilities. Per each organization, they have responsibilities for the management. As overall, the management for the all entire Europe, showing that in western part of the Europe, which is showing a high efficiency level for the attention for the heritage site, while in the eastern, in the eastern and central part of Europe, showing the insufficient level. So all these scenarios were presented for the 5 main continents and were discussed about them. So here there is a proposition theory for this one. As we saw, the main problems per each state, the weakness and the strength. So the proposition theory for this study is the use of existing international policies for tangible heritage can work as foundation for conservation management plan, highlighting their physical policy, method, and criteria. The methodology of this research is adopted qualitative method, going deeply to the exploratory case study based on the main research question, as well as the given information that adapted or applied for the for development control, the scenarios, as well as the identification of tangible heritage policies. Where the research here approach for this methodology is to identify their characteristic and then to characterize them into a group. The main findings for this research for this paper, identification of international policies. In this research, we identify the main policies based on their physical elements, policy method, and policy criteria, and identified on their 5 main types. Number 1, policy of dealing with the historic buildings, where it has 3 subdivisions: restoration, conservation or preservation, and reuse. The next one, developing policies for degraded parts of the historic region, where it has 3 subdivisions: renewal, rehabilitation, and improvements. And number 3, another policy type called change policy for degraded parts of historic areas, where it has 3 subdivisions: redevelopment, clearness, gradual replacements. Number 4, comprehensive policies for dealing with the historic policies with our historic areas, which is they have 3 subdivisions: conservation, revitalization, upgrading. And usually this type of the policy are most common use for the countries, for especially the conservation or reviving for these type of policies. And number 5, they have integrating part, which is mean all the policy accumulated together. Sometimes they are mixing more than one policy to be adapted for the state or the country or street itself, which called integrating comprehensive policies. All those classification that we did, it can help as a foundation or framework for conservation management plan. The final conclusion for this research: the control of urbanization in historical area depends on the policies and method of dealing in this area, which vary from region to region. And sometimes also it can be having more than one policy in the same streets. Depends on the state of the elite streets, the building character, the building value, the history of the street itself. So it can be more than one policy used in the same area. This study, it gives attention and has a benefit to the conservation management staff, as well as to the educators, a group of the researchers, planners, visitors, also for the international specialists, especially the heritage people or heritage staff. Okay, and this study, it gives a foundations for a study specialist for the developed country, developing also, as well as underdeveloped. So all those, it can having a benefit for the country who don't have or still not unified their policies. And here I would like to thank you for all your attention and listening for this presentation. And terima kasih.